Professor I had for marketing way back when said to us, marketing is relationships. And the marketing that we do is designed to initiate and sustain relationships with all of our customers, with our municipalities, with our school districts, with our funders, with all of those people, so that they feel constantly involved, constantly listened to, and that they have a voice in helping us to design what it is the library is going to do in the future. So the obvious one there is social media. So that's been the game changer for all libraries in the last 15, 20 years, is that we are able to use social media to reach a very broad degree of people very easily and very cost effectively. A cautionary tale there. There is always a certain amount of risk in social media. You've got to be very careful that you have professionals doing your social media for you, who are trained to not engage in some of those more dangerous political discourses that could bring people in the community against you. And again, for a public library, we worry very much about making sure we are welcoming to everybody, not just one group or another group. And that is, in a very polarized society these days, often a challenging area. I wanted to highlight the old technology, which is nonetheless quite important, email newsletters. So this is an interesting one because during the pandemic, I realized very quickly we were going to have to build very close relationships with our municipalities, given that we had to close libraries. So the only tool I really had available to me was to create an email newsletter that I sent to all of the chief administrative officers, the city managers of our cities. And strangely, I am equivalent of a city manager because I run my own regional district, which is what our library basically is. So they are my colleagues. So I was able to reach out to them as colleagues and say, we're closing the libraries. Here are all the services that we're providing separately. I then repeatedly followed up with email newsletters all the way through the pandemic, starting with 2 or 3 times a week, dropping down to a couple of times a month, more often as needed as the pandemic shifted. What I heard within 2 weeks was, "This is fantastic. Don't ever stop doing this." So to this day, pandemic's not over. I still send at least one a month of these email newsletters, just providing an update about what we're doing, about where our board is, what we're doing with our budget process, all the things that they care about. Amazing how the quote unquote old tech can work very, very well. But we also try and get into council meetings with our city council. So wherever possible, we'll do a delegation to a council meeting just to talk about what it is that we're doing at the library and offer them the chance to ask questions. These are public meetings, of course. So in general, you're also being viewed by the community, and a surprisingly large number of people like to watch those council meetings. So it's another great way of just building that relationship, getting people to think of you at, quite frankly, very low cost. And then, of course, conferences like today, when we're engaged in whether it's library conferences, municipal conferences, IT conferences, I send people to all of those different conferences. All of them have the goal of meeting people from our various funders, our partner groups, all of those different areas in an effort to just build more and more relationships and just generate more ideas and more goals for us as we do our own strategic planning and our own operational planning. The way I put it to anybody I'm talking with about this is be present in the community, be the library outside your library. It's way too easy for our staff to think that we're just sitting in the walls of the library. People come to us. We have that library vehicle I mentioned, Library Live and on Tour, we call it, Lily. She goes out all the time to different communities to reach out to people who aren't coming in the doors, to find out what it is that they need and to find out, hey, what it might be like to come into our library and what we can provide that would entice them in the doors. That marketing channel is really another lens on which you use to develop your services to ensure that you're meeting those community needs. Wanted to offer some final tips here just to ensure that people are thinking in the direction of the model that we pick. Again, I hope you'll have seen that this is very strategic. This is very focused. It's a model that's designed to not only identify the things that we already know we want to do, building those literacy things in our community, but it's designed very much to surface the needs that we don't know about, the needs that our communities have that wouldn't necessarily come to us in other channels. To be efficient, we're a regional library. We have not a lot of money. Our funding per capita is some of the lowest in the province, but because of our size, we're able to do a lot more than many libraries smaller than we are. But that efficiency, we're always looking for low-cost ways to identify those needs within the communities and shape our services better. I always say at this point, be aware of politics. I have many political masters, but don't play in politics. In a public library, you do not want to engage in a political lens because those politics change regularly. You have to be friendly to all people at all times. You've heard me say compromise over and over again. We compromise in every aspect of our service design. We always aim for good, not great. Well, we aim for great, but in general, we settle for good most of the time because great often means that you're cutting another service short. And at the last, coming up to my time, I will say, don't overpromise. So it's always better to underpromise and overdeliver. I'll come right back to the fact at the very beginning, understand your organization. If you can't deliver something with your organization, if you can't figure out how to sustain a new service, you should not offer it because all you will do is create expectations, which you then can't live up to, which will then have people in the community unhappy with you.